Here's our paint and sip for today. This is the painting that was chosen in the vote from Thursday. I was quite surprised, actually. I'm not like super obsessed with this painting, but I'm excited today to maybe try it again and maybe do a couple things a little bit differently and maybe just give it a different little spin. So I'm excited to lead you guys through this. I've also got the reference photo up on my computer here so you can see it. If you'd like to screenshot this, you're welcome to. If you're watching this on YouTube later, this reference photo is linked in the description of the video, so you'll be able to just go straight to this reference photo to see it if you'd like to. Again, if you'd like to screenshot it, feel free. So what we're going to do for this painting is we're going to work kind of from back to front. So we're going to start with the sky and then paint in the mountain and these kind of distant trees here. And then we're going to do all of this foreground in one layer. And we're going to get this nice like blend between these two colors here and a nice soft meadow. So we're going to give that a shot. Again, I will be leading you guys through this. Let's go over my materials really quick since I always get questions about this. I'm trying a new paper today, so we're gonna see how this goes. I got this on Amazon. It's Baohong is the brand, and they have student grade and artist grade. So this is the artist grade, and it's 100% cotton, and it's 8.3 by 5.9 inches. And it's a watercolor block, which means the pages are glued together on the sides, and that just helps hold down the page as you're painting. And then there's a little section of unglued here, and then you can kind of remove each page after you're done working on it. So I'll let you know. I have not tested this out yet, so I'll let you know what my thoughts as we're trying it out. I'm enjoying doing some kind of materials testing during these paint and sips so you guys can see, you know, how it looks, and I'll let you know if I recommend it at the end of the painting. Let's see, I have my brushes here. It's been a while since I've done paint and sip, so I'm a little out of practice. My brushes are Princeton Neptune 10 round and 4 round, and then I've got a little 2 round detail brush here from Christy Rice's paint set. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, all of these supplies are linked in the description. And then my paints are Winsor Newton, as per usual. My usual little set that fits nicely in the screen, so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, and then I've got a cup of water. I grab some paper towels, and we will go ahead and get started. Like I said before, if you have any questions as we're doing this, feel free to put them in the chat. I will try and get through all of them as I paint, but I do have to instruct and paint at the same time. So just give me a little time to do all three. So before we start, let's go ahead and put a drop of water into each of our colors here. This is how we start all of our paintings. Just helps to start to dissolve the colors a little bit, and it makes it much easier to grab the pigment later. So I just use my paintbrush, put a drop in each color. We might not use each color, but it's good to have them ready just in case. You can use a spray bottle if you're feeling fancy. Should be taped down today. That's up to you. I'm not going to because I'm using a watercolor block, so the pages are held down at the sides by the glue. But if you'd like to tape your paper down, you're welcome to. Let's see if we have any other questions before we start. Okay, cool. So let's do a slight pencil sketch. So grab your pencil if you have one. And the only thing we're really going to sketch right now is the horizon line. And the horizon line's about halfway up the paper, and it's just going to be kind of a slightly curved line. So I'm going to lightly do that. Something like that. It doesn't need to be anything super perfect. It's just a slightly curved line across the page there, about halfway up. Okay, will we be lifting the paper? I don't think so, but I always recommend taping your paper to a board just in case you want to pick up your paper and turn it in a certain way. Yeah, you should be able to turn the comments off by just holding the display down. Okay, so let's go with our first step here, which is going to be painting in the sky section in the background. This is just going to be one light wash of one color. So I'm going to use Payne's Gray, which is kind of a blue-gray color. If you don't have gray in your palette mixing together, blue with a little black will give you just a perfect substitute. So it's kind of it's just in between a blue and a gray. And we're just going to grab a little bit of paint and add lots of water to it. So I'm adding in plenty of water from my cup. We want this to be a really, really light color because skies are almost always the lightest part of any landscape painting. So we want to start with a light color and then be able to move to our darker colors as we continue the painting. So build up a nice generous puddle of some gray. And whenever you're ready, we're just going to do a flat wash of this gray color over the entire top half of the painting. So we're just going to stop this when we get to that pencil line that we drew. And I'm using a large brush, just covering the paper. Nothing special here. Okay, and then we'll stop it there. Now we do have to let this dry all the way. If you have a hairdryer, feel free to just use that now. I'm gonna let mine air dry for just a minute to give everybody a chance to catch up if you're behind a little bit and answer some questions. Do you answer my watch versus participate question regarding setting? Oh, no, yeah, it's the same. Yeah, you're in Paint and Sip now. You can either watch it live or watch the recording later on my YouTube channel. But this, I don't really go live other than to do Paint and Sips, so you're in the Paint and Sip. Okay, perfect. Where are you from? I'm from Seattle. I grew up in Seattle, outside Seattle. I live in Ohio now. Okay. Any other questions before we get started? Also, thank you so much for the likes. We're already up to 5,400, looks like. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I think I'll go ahead and grab my hairdryer now, just to keep us moving. So I apologize for the hairdryer noise. Sometimes it comes across in the video and sometimes it doesn't. How's life in Ohio? You know, it's fine. It's affordable. It's not anything glamorous, but I'm an artist, so I can afford to live here and be a full-time artist, so that's certainly something. The gray looks so much more blue than mine. Yeah, Payne's gray is a very blue tinted gray. So it doesn't matter. There are times when grays in the sky are more blue and times when they're more gray. Nothing wrong with that. Came as an option to choose when signing up. Oh yeah, I'm not sure why they have those two different options. I get what you're saying now. I'm not sure why they have two different options for that. It's unclear to me why they offer both. It doesn't matter. Either one is fine. Okay. There we go. Dry. So now that we have that, it's time to paint in the mountain in the distance here. So we're gonna grab a very similar color. I'm going to mix up just a little bit darker of a Payne's gray color, and I'm going to add just a touch of brown into it, just a little bit at a time, until we get just a slightly more neutral gray. And you'll just see that warming up the gray a little bit. We still want it to be cool toned, but just a little bit of extra warmth in there. So just a touch of brown at a time until you're happy with the color. And it's still pretty watery, but it's just a little bit darker than what we used for the sky just now. Okay. And when you're ready, we're gonna go ahead and put our mountain in here. And it's gonna be about halfway up the sky section. So this top half, about halfway up here. And we're gonna paint in the mountain ridge and fill in a little bit below it. And then we're gonna use water to blend out the bottom. So I'll show you. If you'd like to watch, you're welcome to. I'll give you a minute to catch up to me afterwards, okay? So I'm just going to use my big brush, paint in kind of a wavy, be creative here, a little bit of mountain range. It doesn't need to look like anything in particular, but try and give yourself a little texture there. And I'm just gonna go almost to the edge, but it's mostly in the middle here. Just a couple little ridges there. Okay. Fill it in a little bit, and then I'm going to clean off my brush, take off a little bit of the excess water, and then use a clean wet brush to blend the bottom of this out until we get to the horizon line. So that'll make it look like there's mist or fog or something at the bottom of the mountain. I'm really liking this paper, actually. This is quite nice. Okay, you can use a damp brush to blend those colors together a little bit. I'm from Seattle. Okay, so that's it. We're gonna let that dry all the way. And I'll give you a minute before I hair dry it to catch up, just in case you wanted to watch me first. How do you paint mountains? Mine looks like a hill. So I think the key to mountains, and it does kind of look like a hill, like it's not, you know, unhill-like, I don't know. But I think the key is this texture at the top, like having a little bit of texture there, having the different ridge lines, different little peaks and stuff. I think that's a key to making it look like a mountain rather than just having like one line up and one line down, you know? But that just takes practice, and you'll find what works for you as you paint more mountains. When I try to blend it, it just blotches. So sometimes that happens. It depends on the paper that you're using. Sometimes different papers, especially if it's not 100% cotton, won't give you that nice like blend between colors. So I'd recommend trying out paper that's 100% cotton if you aren't already. And then also working quickly. Oh my God, Jesus Christ. Fire truck outside. Yeah, so also working quickly so that all of the colors can kind of blend together while they're all still wet helps a lot too. But you will still probably get a little bit of texture. That's just the nature of watercolor, so try not to panic about it too much. It's not too big of a deal. Just part of the charm of the medium. Is canvas a good idea for this type of painting? So we're doing a watercolor painting. Watercolor has to happen on an absorbent, almost always has to happen on an absorbent material, and canvas is not absorbent. So you would need to find some sort of absorbent. Oh, good. I'm glad you can't hear the background noise. It just, sometimes I'm not sure what comes across on the video and what doesn't. It's so dry in California. My mountain dried before I could have the clean water. Oh man, I get that. Sometimes that happens. It's not too humid here, but yeah. When you do that, just one little tip for you. I mean, working quickly is the main thing, but when you're painting in the mountain here, having a lot of paint on your paintbrush and like having a lot of paint in that section there will give you a little bit more time to add the clean water. Like it won't dry quite as fast if there's a lot of paint on the paper already. So that could be something you could try. I've also got a fan on in here, so that's helping things dry a little quicker, but I'm gonna hit it with a hairdryer now so we can move on. Charm, yeah, exactly. It's all part of the charm. You paint with such decisiveness, I always feel so panicked and scared when I try to paint. I understand that. Painting should not be scary. It should be fun. But it comes with practice. Like when you practice more and just have made a lot of paintings and made a lot of bad paintings, you're just kind of like, all right, I kind of know what I'm doing now. And I've painted landscapes like this a lot. And so I kind of have practiced these steps, even in not this specific order, a few times before. So practice helps with that, with having confidence. Okay, so let's go check back into our painting here. We've done our sky and our mountain here in the background. We're gonna paint in these distant trees here, down here, and then we're gonna do our big kind of foreground adventure with the trees and stuff in the foreground. So we've just got one more step before we get there. Go back into that exact same gray color that we just used for the mountain, and I'm switching to a smaller brush now. And we're just gonna add some very general tree shapes. I'm gonna zoom you in here. Just in the center of this landscape here. So I'm just gonna dot in with my brush, just like the most general tree forest shapes that you've ever seen. It does not have to be very detailed. I'm just using a dotting motion with my brush and bringing this color down to the horizon line. Okay, so just add a few trees. When I made this painting, I was really trying to go for an economy of brush strokes, which means you're trying to be really thoughtful about how many times your brush is touching the paper, and you're trying to portray as much as possible with as little, with as few brush strokes. And so that was kind of the point of what I was doing with this painting originally. And I'm happy with how some elements turned out, but I feel like the foreground could use a little bit more detail, so we might do that. But that's what we're kind of aiming for with these tree details here. Not very much detail, but still kind of showing that these are trees in the background. Okay, so just something like that. You don't have to go all the way across the paper, because we're going to put some trees in these sections here. So how do you figure out placement without sketching first? So I'm looking at the reference photo. I've got a reference photo up on my computer here, which I showed at the beginning, and I've also got this painting that I did already. So since I've done this painting before, I know where everything goes. So that's why I can just kind of do it. But it's also just like an improvisational thing. Once you get more comfortable with watercolor, you're able to put things where you think they should go, or where you know they should go. And, just kind of make it happen. I don't know. Practice. What brand is the paper? Is it cold pressed? It looks like it'd be lovely to paint on. Yeah, I was just talking about it earlier when we were getting started. This is the brand. It's called Baohong. I got it from Amazon. I've heard a lot about it. I've never tried it before. It's a watercolor block. And it's cold press, cotton, 100% cotton watercolor paper. I'm really enjoying it so far. This is maybe my favorite paper that I've tried for a paint and sip before. So far, I would definitely recommend it. This is the artist grade. I think they have student grade as well. So this one was a little bit, slightly more expensive than the student grade one, but I think the student grade was also 100% cotton watercolor paper, so that would work just fine. Okay, let's get our trees dried here. I'm just gonna do a hairdryer one more time. And while we do this, I will just mention, if you are enjoying today's paint and sip and you'd like to support me as an artist in any way, you can do that by going to the link in my bio. You'll find many things there. You'll find, first of all, a link to my watercolor book, Watercolor Wanderlust, which I'll show you just quickly here. This book has been out for a year. If many of you have probably tried it or checked it out at least. And it's got 24 landscape painting lessons. So just like these paint and sips, but in book form. And you'll learn how to paint a bunch of landscapes with me. So I'd highly recommend checking it out if you are interested in painting watercolor landscapes. I tried to not only lead you through these watercolor paintings specifically, but also give you the skills to do it on your own later. So if you're interested in watercolor landscape painting, highly recommend checking that out. And then you'll also find in my Linktree my Etsy shop if you'd like to grab some of the art that I sell. That's where you'll find that. I've got bookmarks, postcards, prints, original paintings, lots of stuff at lots of different price points. So there's stuff that's very inexpensive, and then there's, original paintings which are more expensive. So you'll find something in there for you. If you scroll down in there, you'll find my Artistro watercolor set. If you're looking for a watercolor set, I helped design one with Artistro. And I'm really proud of it. I'm really happy with it. I don't use it for these paint and sips because it's quite large, and so it's hard to fit the palette and the mixing area and my paper on the screen. I have used it for paint and sips before, but I would highly recommend checking that out. I've got my Patreon on there if you'd like to support me on a monthly basis and grab an extra tutorial and grab some art gifts. All of that is available as Patreon benefits. And then I've got my Amazon storefront listed in there too if you'd like some of my art supply recommendations. Those are all linked in my Amazon storefront, so you can check that out there. Those are all my plugs. Thank you for listening. Oh, one more. If you'd like to leave me a tip or a gift for today's session, I know we're not done yet, but if you'd like to, my PayPal is also linked in my Linktree. If you just click on the link at the very top is a little $ icon, and if you click on that, it'll take you to my PayPal, so you could do that if you'd like to. People usually, it's like small amounts, $5, $10, something like that if you enjoyed the session, so that is an option for you as well. Okay, let's go ahead and get started on this tree section. So we're going to mix up a few colors so that they're ready for us before we get started painting. So we're going to mix up 2 colors for the trees here and then a couple colors for the ground. so that we have all of those ready. So just get ready for a little bit of paint mixing right now. First color is going to be a lighter green. So I'm going to use sap green and a little bit of yellow ochre mixed together. And because we want to dull these down a little bit, I'm going to also add a little bit of alizarin crimson. So that was sap green, yellow ochre, and a little bit of alizarin crimson. And when you add the crimson, you'll find that the color kind of dulls down a little bit. And that's what we want. Okay, so that's kind of a lighter green. Darker green is going to be similar color recipe, just sap green, but now it's going to be ultramarine blue and a little bit of alizarin crimson. So second one is sap green, ultramarine blue, and a little bit of alizarin crimson. Red. Mix those together, you should get a nice dark, natural looking green. Oh, that was too much red. Go back to the green. And we're going to keep these colors fairly concentrated. So I'm adding a little bit of water so the paint flows, but it's not too watered down. Okay? Yeah, crimson like red. It's called alizarin crimson, but it's a red color. So if you just have red, that's fine. Okay, and then let's see, what colors do we want for the foreground here? Let's just do yellow ochre, just as it is. Okay, and we'll do some brown just as it is as well. And then we'll end up using those tree colors in the foreground as well. Okay, so 4 colors. We've got sap green, yellow ochre, and alizarin crimson for this light green, sap green, ultramarine blue, and alizarin crimson for this dark green, yellow ochre, and Van Dyke brown. Keeping all the colors pretty saturated. Okay. Oh, someone left me a tip already. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yes, all of this is going to be posted on YouTube. I forgot to mention my YouTube channel is in my link tree as well. It'll just take you straight there. I post all the paint and sips plus other long form content on YouTube, so I'd love for you to subscribe. Okay, so let's just talk about this real quick before we do it. We're gonna paint in these trees. We're gonna start with that lighter green, paint in the general tree shape, and then we're gonna drop in that dark green in there. Same thing on this side. And then we're going to do the field here as soon as we are done with the trees. So we're just going to go straight into it. I'm going to try and go at a pace that works for everybody, but everybody paints at a different pace. So just do your best to keep up. If not, I'll give you a little bit of time afterwards. Okay. Third color combo, sap green, yellow ochre, alizarin crimson, sap green, ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson, just yellow ochre, just Van Dyke brown. Okay. And last thing, if you'd like to do the same thing that I did, which was talking about the economy of brush strokes here and just, give yourself a little bit of challenge, use a larger paintbrush. Yes, I can swatch the colors. Just give me a second here. I'll just swatch the greens since these are just pure colors. That's what the green looks like. The light green. And then here's the dark green. Hopefully that helps. Doesn't have to match mine exactly, but it should give you an idea. Okay, so again, I'm going to use a larger brush. If you'd like a little bit more control, you're welcome to use a smaller brush. That's up to you. You're going to choose your own adventure. Okay, let's start with this light green here. And I'll zoom in on this side of the painting here so you can see what I'm doing a little clearer. I'm going to start about 2/3 of the way up from the horizon line to the top of the page and just lightly, like barely touching the paper, create a bit of an outline for the trees. So I'm just trying to get as fine of details as possible as quickly as possible. Okay, and then underneath that you can just start filling it in. So you can see how we've got kind of the outline of some trees there. So again, I'm just using like the very tip of my brush, kind of bouncing it around the page, letting it like not touch the page. I'm just trying to use the lightest possible touch, while also getting some nice random brush strokes. And we're going to get down to almost halfway across the paper. So I'm going to overlap those trees a little bit that we painted in the background. Okay, and then you can just fill in everything below down to the horizon line here. Okay, and then while that's still wet, I'm just going to go straight into the dark green. Didn't even wash my brush, and I'm just going to dot that into the light green here. You could add little individual trees over here if you want to, that are on their own. Okay, so it should look something like that. Okay, I'm not going to waste any time. We're going to repeat that on the other side. I do have to mix a little bit of extra light green paint, so I'm going to do that as quickly as I can. If you're ready, just go ahead and do it. Okay, so again, starting kind of 2/3 of the way up and using as light of a touch as I can. Just start creating the outlines of the trees. Oh good, I'm glad that helped. I'm glad adding more paint helped. So the 2025 version of Bob Ross. Thank you so much. I've gotten that a few times. I love Bob Ross. I learned a lot from watching his videos. Okay, and then again, once you've filled in the outline of the trees, just go back to your dark green and drop that in. Try and focus it on the bottom of the trees here, but it can go anywhere. Just dot it in anywhere. Get a nice and blended look. Okay, and we're gonna move on. I'm sorry, I know it's a few steps in a row, but what we're gonna do is, there we go, take some clean water and fill in the bottom half of this painting, all the way up to where your trees are. You're going to start getting that green color blending into the bottom half of the painting. That's what we want. Okay. And then in this bottom section, we're just going to do some swooping brush strokes. You can go with any color that we have on our palette. I'm going to start with some yellow ochre. Maybe throw that in here. Maybe I'll go to my brown. I'm not even going to clean my brush between these because they're all going to mix on the paper anyway, so it doesn't matter. We're just trying to create some movement here, so try not to do perfectly horizontal brush strokes. Try and change the angle a little bit as you're painting. And the only other thing I want you to keep in mind is trying to have the lighter colors here towards the horizon and try and have it get darker as you go down the page. That's the only thing I need you to keep in mind. Redefine that a little bit. Okay, and you can always use just a clean, damp brush if you need to blend things together a little bit. You can do that. Maybe I'll go into my light green, add a little bit of that in here. Grab some more brown. You can use colors straight out of your palette. You could use really any color. Maybe I grab some ultramarine blue just straight out of my palette and put that down here a little bit. Because the paper's wet, it's all gonna blend together, so you can use those colors straight out of the palette. But I just want you to feel free here and just kind of create your field as you want it. Maybe I'll go back to my yellow ochre. That tends to get lost a little bit in those other colors, so go back to the yellow ochre here. You can also dry your brush off completely and use that to add some highlights. I like to do that in the center of the page close to the horizon line here. That's a good spot to add some highlights. You can see how that picks up the paint from that spot. And you can see how I'm trying to go for this gradient effect where I've got lighter colors here at the horizon line and my colors get darker as we get towards the bottom of the page. If you want to get crazy, you can add in really any color. I'll prove it to you. You can add in red. You could add in any color straight from your palette. I'm adding in some red down here. Why not? A little unexpected red. It does not matter. They're all going to mix together anyway, so I just want you to be free here. Once your paper starts to dry, you are going to have to leave it alone because you will not get that blending anymore and you'll start to get some weird textures, so just keep that in mind. You have as long as to work on it as it stays wet. And sometimes that's a long time, and sometimes that's a very short time, and you just gotta make it work. Okay, you also don't want to overwork it either, so I'm probably gonna leave that alone. Okay, and we're gonna let this dry all the way. And we are going to add some details on top, I've decided. I don't want to just leave it like this. So we're going to let this dry. We have a little bit of time anyway, and we will add some details. I will give you a minute to keep working on it, though, before then. So don't panic. Maybe I'll just talk about what I've been up to. I paused Paint and Sips for April because I was working on a new book, which is very exciting, and I am not going to tell you too much about it. I am very excited about it. I think it's going to be really cool. Hopefully my editors think the same. The ball's in their court right now. But it is hopefully going to come out next January. So if all goes well, you'll be seeing another book from me. It'll be a watercolor book, I'll tell you that much. You'll be seeing another book from me next year. So I'm very excited about that, but it was a lot of work, and I am a professional procrastinator along with being a professional artist, and so I certainly did put it off until the last possible minute to finish the manuscript and the photos. So if it isn't the consequences of my own actions. Anyway, it got done, and we are going to spend the summer editing it and making sure it's ready for you guys to look at and learn from. And you'll be hearing a lot more about it, probably in late summer, early fall, and then definitely through the fall and the winter. I will be posting about it incessantly, so you will be hearing a lot about it from me at that point. But I just wanted to let you guys know that's why we didn't do Paint and Sips for a little while, and I hope you're excited for another round of watercolor painting with me. And yeah, thank you very much for supporting Watercolor Wanderlust. That's the reason I got asked back, because you guys seem to really like Watercolor Wanderlust and supported it so much, so I really appreciate it. And that's the only reason they asked to be back, so I appreciate it. And I hope you're excited. Okay, how's this going for everybody? I would like to know if you're painting along with me, give me a little indication how you're doing, if you need help with anything. I'm gonna take a sip of my sparkling water while you do that. You gotta hydrate, you know? After this dries, we're gonna kind of be in uncharted territory for me because this is kind of the point that I stopped last time. So we're really gonna see what I can come up with here, improvising on the spot. Still drying. Mine looks a bit like trash, but that's okay. That's okay. We're gonna add some details and we're gonna see how it looks at the end of that. I'm gonna use my hairdryer. If you'd like to do your hairdryer as well, that's good. Do you know where the reference photo was taken? That's a good question, actually. I can probably find out. The Smoky Mountains in Tennessee. The field is way too light. Okay, we can work with that. Oversaturated my greens, yeah. Yeah, so you might have mixed a little too much water into your paint. That's okay. Maybe we'll do another layer on this field here. Maybe we can work with that. I'm literally watching this because it's so relaxing. Oh, thank you so much. Sorry. Let's see. I always get my paint palette so messy, any particular way you clean yours without wasting. So what I do to clean my palette, I'll just show you, is I just take a wet brush and reactivate the colors like this. And then I use a paper towel and wipe it up. You will end up wasting a little bit of paint, but honestly, the amount that you have left over in your palette is like such a small amount of paint, because mostly water, that, you know, it's not super wasteful. But sometimes when I'm feeling really ambitious, I'll clean the inside, because the inside does get real nasty with like old paint and stuff. But I don't do that very often. I cannot be bothered. I just clean the mixing areas. I meant the actual paints that get muddy. Oh, okay, gotcha. That's a good question. Maybe I'll do that with the yellow ochre. So what I'll do to that is I'll take a damp brush, and you can see there's a little green in my yellow ochre there, and I'll just use a damp brush and kind of scribble it. And if it goes away on its own, I'll let it go, but then I have a little bit of yellow ochre on my brush, so I'll just wash that off. You should be able to just kind of clean it with a wet brush. And you shouldn't waste too much paint doing that. Okay, let me think a little bit here. What do we want to do? I think I want to continue with this kind of loose brush stroke style and just add a little bit of detail like that. And maybe we'll do one more layer on the field to get a nice saturated color down here, because it's pretty dark in the reference photo. Okay, so let's go ahead and do those things. Let's start with the trees. Let's mix up some extra dark green. So same color recipe as before. It's going to be sap green, ultramarine blue, and a little bit of alizarin crimson. But we're just going to add as little water, or just not as little water, but less water this time than we did last time. So we have a nice dark concentrated paint. Add plenty of blue, that'll darken it up a lot. Okay, so you can see how streaky that is in my palette. That means it's really concentrated. You can see the bottom of the palette as I mix this. That'll tell you how much water you have in your palette. Okay. Let's go ahead. I'm going to zoom you in here so you can see what I'm doing. I'm not sure I'll be able to explain this while I do it, but you'll be able to kind of see what I'm doing. We're just going to add some trees kind of in the foreground here. So kind of poking out into the field here, adding a couple different sort of tree shapes. And we're not going to do any, I don't think we're going to do any blending here. So I'm just going to kind of add lots of texture and just adding some little dark areas that fade out as you get up towards the top of the page here. So you can see what I've done here is I've created a shadow here, a lighter part here, that's kind of the edge of a tree, and then I've created the shadow of another tree here. So then I've got the edge of a tree, and I'm going to paint around that with another shadow. So it kind of gets this stripy look. And then I'm just going to fade that out with this same texture that we used at the top here. I don't know if this is going to look good or not, but we're gonna experiment here a little bit. See how it looks when it dries. And you can see I am using a smaller brush now so that I have a little bit extra control. Okay, how does that look? I think that's okay. I don't hate it. Maybe I'll add a little bit of extra stuff up here. I might be overworking it now, so I need to leave it alone. Okay. I think it added some depth. Yeah, I think so too. And I think it'll look more natural once that dries all the way. It'll kind of blend in with what we had already. Okay. Let's try the other side now. The other side is a lot darker in the reference photo, so maybe we'll do mostly like filled in with this color on this side, because the light's kind of coming down this way, so this side is much more illuminated and this side is not. So maybe we'll fill in most of this, and maybe we'll use like a dry brushing texture. So I'm going to let my brush kind of run out of paint as I work my way up these trees, and I'll get that kind of broken texture there at the top. So again, I'm filling in the bottom with the dark green, and then I'm kind of tapping my brush on the paper, and as the brush runs out of paint, it's going to kind of scrape along the paper and give me that texture there. I think that looks good. Maybe we'll add some of that over here too. A little bit of dry brushing. It works for a lot of stuff. So again, I just have very little paint on my brush, and I'm just scraping it over the paper, and it just gives me like a little bit of a fuzzy, static-y texture. I don't know if that's the right word. Grainy texture. Something like that. Okay. From a distance, always. Watercolor paintings always look better from a distance. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. I think that helps with the contrast of the piece for sure. It adds a little bit of detail. Okay. How's that going for everybody? I want to go there. This is in the Great Smoky Mountains, so you can go. Have you tried to watercolor faces? Okay. I don't think I have. I really don't do portraiture very often. I used to, because I was forced to in art classes, and I had more motivation when I was younger to I was like, oh, I want to be good at art. I'm going to do everything, I'm going to practice my portraits and stuff. I was just never that good at it. And I didn't practice enough, but it was never something that I enjoyed doing all that much. It just really stressed me out. So, all that to say, I don't think I've ever tried to watercolor faces really. But some people do a really beautiful job with watercolor portraits. I think they can turn out really beautiful. Yes, it is just watercolor. Yes, we can see the original. So you can see we stopped in the original at that first layer. So I had a little bit more texture and contrast in this part already. Sometimes that happens. I think it was maybe more humid this day or something. I had a little more time to work on it. And then I just did like the one layer on the ground and then added those gouache flowers there. So yeah, so we're just trying something new on this one here, just for funsies. I don't know, it's good to experiment. Let's see. Near the Great Smoky Mountains, we had a small earthquake this morning. Oh my God, that's crazy. Okay, let's see. I'm really thinking about what we want to do for this last step here. Give me 1 second while I contemplate. Oh boy. Okay, I think we're gonna do one more layer on the field here. Same colors. So let's just get a few of those mixed back up here. So let's mix again a little bit more of the light green, sap green, yellow ochre, and alizarin crimson. We're gonna add some water to these now, so we're gonna water them down a little bit. We'll get some more of that dark green. And then we'll get more of those pure colors that we used, the yellow ochre and the Van Dyke brown. And if you, in the first round of doing the field, found a color that you really liked in the field, you're welcome to get some of that ready too. A little blue or red or whatever you enjoyed putting in the field while we were working on it. Okay. So, same technique, we're gonna put a layer of water over what we've painted already and just add in some more color. This is going to mess up the bottom layer a little bit, but we don't care because we're painting over it now. And this should help if your field was a little too light, it should help get a little bit more color and saturation in your field here. Okay, so we're reactivating what was underneath and we're just gonna add more color. So let's add in some more green, same technique that we used before. Let's add in some more dark green here. A little bit of brown. Yeah, you can see this is getting a lot more saturated, which I enjoy, especially at the bottom of the painting here. Okay, and I actually don't think I'm gonna do too much more than that. I kind of wanna, I like that. I like how that looks, so I'm gonna stop there, but feel free to just do it until you like it. Maybe I'll add a little bit more yellow ochre. Always just want to add a little bit more. Okay, there we go. I'm stopping. That's enough. Not, no, well, I can't help myself. I really can't. Just want to add a little bit more. Okay, okay, I promise I'm stopping. Putting the brush down. This looks like where my husband and I got engaged. Oh, that's so sweet. What did you mix to make the gray? So the gray of the sky was just Payne's gray. And then the gray of the mountain was Payne's gray with a little bit, excuse me, a little bit of brown in it. How do you keep the paper from wrinkling? Good question. So this is a watercolor block, which means the paper is glued down to itself on the sides, on all sides, except for one little spot at the top, which you can see right here, right there. There's a little spot right there. And so you slide a little knife or something underneath it and then release the paper from the rest of the block. But it really helps to keep the paper flat It wrinkles a little bit still, but not very much. And it just holds it down for you, which is nice. Can you tell us the colors you mixed for the greens again? Yes, so this was sap green, yellow ochre, and a little bit of alizarin crimson, which is just red. This one was sap green, ultramarine blue, and alizarin crimson. So green and yellow, green and blue, plus red in both. Thank you. Appreciate it. Someone asked what the paper was. It is called Baohong. That's the paper brand. I'm not going to hold this up too much because my paper is still wet. But it's artist watercolor paper. It's 100% cotton watercolor paper. This is the first time I'm using it. I've seen it suggested a lot of other places, and I'm really enjoying it. So I would highly recommend it. I think I can give you my recommendation now. I got it from Amazon. They're available on Amazon. It's good stuff. I'm enjoying it, especially for paint and sips. It's not too expensive. I don't like to use like super expensive paper for paint and sips since we're just learning together. So it's good. It was like $20 maybe, and there's 20 sheets, so about $1 per sheet. Same as meadow. I don't know what that is. I've never heard of that before. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and use my hairdryer, speed this along since we're getting closer to our end time here. What kind of paint are you using? Daniel Smith, those Winsor Newton. How do you get that texture on the grass? I don't know. I don't have a ton of texture on here. This is a pretty flat wash. It could be the texture of the paper that you're seeing. The texture at the bottom looks grassy. Oh, maybe. I think it might just be the texture of the paper underneath. Is this something you regularly do? Yes, I do. The next one will be next Saturday. I don't usually do them 2 weekends in a row, but I will be gone for the next 2 weekends, so we're going to do 2 weekends in a row. So, next one will be next Saturday at this same time, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. See you there. We'll paint something different. Okay, close enough. Run a watercolor group on Facebook? Yeah, for sure. Please do message me. Okay, last couple of details here. I want to add a couple of flowers. You can do this with a color, a watercolor, but I'm going to use gouache, which is an opaque water-based paint. I love using gouache with watercolor. It's a great way to add highlights. So I'm just going to grab a little bit of this. If you have some sort of opaque paint, you can use that. If not, you could use like a red color, like a saturated red, to do these flowers. That would show up decently on this background. So that's up to you, or you can just not add any flowers. If you're happy with how your field looks, feel free to just let it ride as it is. Okay, but I'm going to take just a little bit of white on my brush and just do some little dots in kind of clusters. I like to do mostly in the foreground here, so I'm not bringing this past about halfway up the field, because you'd really only be able to see them this close up. Once it gets too far away, they blend into the field. So just adding a few scattered dots. Don't forget to bring them all the way down to the bottom of the page. Try and be as random as you can. You could do this with any, I don't know if I said this already, you can do this with any opaque paint. Acrylic paint, if you have a gel pen, that would work. If you have whiteout, that would work. Doesn't matter. Gouache works quite well, and it mixes well with watercolor, but it doesn't have to be gouache. Okay, perfect. Don't overdo it on the flowers. And then I think just to make sure the flowers look like they are indeed flowers, I'm going to take some dark green, same color that we've been using for the dark green. And keep using my detail brush and just add some little stems, just some little like fine lines underneath the flowers. I'll zoom you in for that so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just adding some like very fine lines kind of fanning out underneath these flower shapes. You can add a little grassy texture with this if you want to as well. Gouache details make it more 3D. Yeah, it's pretty close. It is kind of, it does make it look a little 3D. It is, the gouache is still wet right now, so that's probably also why it gives you that impression. Thank you very much. Thank you all for joining me. I'll do our little sign off here for those of you who need to go, but I'll finish this painting with you all and show you how it gets removed from the watercolor block for those of you who are curious. Thank you all for joining me. I hope you enjoyed today. I will be back, like I said before, for Paint and Sip next weekend, next Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. If you'd like to join me, I would love to see you there. We'll paint a different landscape, but it's going to be a watercolor landscape just like today. If you painted along with me and you'd like to share your painting, you can post it on your Instagram story and tag me. I have the same handle on Instagram as I do on TikTok, and I will repost everybody's paintings on my story so we can do a little art gallery, virtual art gallery. If you are uncomfortable sharing your painting in public, that's fine. You can just send me in a DM. I do look at all my DMs. I don't always respond to every single one because I get a lot and I gotta be off my phone at some point. So I will see it. I will not always respond, but I will see it. And I do try to respond to a lot of them. If you enjoyed today's session, please make sure you check out my Linktree to support me in any way that you want to. Again, if you'd like to check out my watercolor book, Watercolor Wanderlust, that's available in my Linktree and anywhere you buy books. You can check out my Etsy shop. You can check out my Patreon to support me monthly. You can check out my Artistro watercolor palette, my other art supply recommendations on my Amazon storefront. And if you'd like to leave me a tip, you can do that through the little $sign link at the top. That'll take you right to my PayPal. So if you'd like to leave me a little tip for today's session, that's always super appreciated. Just any, little amount is what people normally do, and that's totally cool. I appreciate whatever you want to do in that way. And then make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel as well. This Paint and Sip will be uploaded to YouTube later today or early tomorrow. It just depends on upload speed. But you'll be able to find this Paint and Sip, and all of my previous ones are up there too. So if you're looking for another watercolor tutorial, you can check out all of the previous Paint and Sips and the pre-recorded ones that I've uploaded there too. So whatever way you choose to support me, even if it's just giving me a follow, commenting, liking, watching my videos, all of that stuff is very helpful too, if you'd like to just support me that way. And thank you all for joining me here, and I will see you in the next one, for those of you who need to leave. Okay, I feel pretty good about that now. We've just got like a little bit of that grassy texture in the field there, which I like. Makes those flowers kind of look more realistic there. So I think I'm pretty happy with this painting, and I will go ahead and remove it. So when you order this paper, they send you this little leaf thing, which is kind of cool. And the point is that you slide this in between the paper that you just painted on and the rest of them in the little spot that's not glued. And then you just carefully run that around the outside of the paper to break the glue. I think in the comments of this paper, people said they had trouble doing this without ripping the paper, so we'll see how that goes. Where did you get paper? This is from Amazon. I'll show the front of it in just a second. There we go. Okay, that was pretty easy. So then we have a new paper and we have our painting separated. Beautiful. I'll go ahead and sign that with some gouache down here, I think. Somewhere with some white gouache. Go. And there's our final painting. Again, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you again for joining me today. Happy Mother's Day to my mom in particular, but to all moms out there. And I hope to see you all in the Paint and Sip next weekend. If you have any last minute questions, I'll stick around. But otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this painting today.